Alright, let's talk Geo characters in Genshin Impact. Now I know what you're thinking. Geo isn't exactly the flashiest element in the game, right? It doesn't have those crazy reactions like Pyro or Electro, and let's be real, it's probably the most forgotten element out there. Even Dendro, which showed up way later, has almost caught up in terms of character count. So yeah, Geo feels a bit like the underdog of Teyvat. But here's the thing, being underrated doesn't mean it's useless. In fact, some Geo characters are absolute game changers if you know how to use them. Whether you're building an unbreakable defense or dishing out solid damage, the Geo roster has a few gems worth investing your precious Primogems and resources into. So stick around, because today we're diving into every Geo character and ranking them to help you figure out who's worth your time and who you can leave in the dust. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. Let's talk about Garo, the good boy of Inazuma and possibly one of the most niche support characters in Genshin Impact. Goru's entire kit screams, "I'm here for Geo!" But the issue is, there are only 8 Geo characters in the game right now. So, unless you're running a Geo-heavy team, Goru kind of struggles to find his place. His elemental skill and burst are great at what they do, but only if you've stacked your party with 1, 2, or 3 Geo characters to unlock those buffs. Without that Geo synergy, he's just there. Now, if you do have some Geo characters like Arataki Itto, Noelle, or even Albedo, Goru starts to shine. His skill gives a def buff and resistance, which scales perfectly with Geo DPS units like Itto. Add his burst into the mix, and now you're getting a sweet Geo DMG bonus too. But here's the catch, you need that Geo squad to make it all work. No Geo mains? No love for Goru. And let's be real, unless you're a Geo enthusiast, how often are you running 3 Geo characters in a single team? At the end of the day, Goru is the ultimate definition of a team player, but he's also the guy that shows up to a party only if his Geo friends are invited too. Without them, he's just awkwardly standing in the corner with no one to talk to. If you're building a Geo dream team, Goru is a must-have support, but for everyone else, he's probably warming the bench. Ah, the Geo Traveler. You know we've all been there, early game, running around Liyue, switching to Geo Traveler just to spawn those handy constructs. Let's be honest, they're the ultimate puzzle solver. Need to climb a mountain? Geo Traveler. Can't reach that chest? Geo Traveler. But outside of their utility, well, things take a bit of a nosedive. Their elemental burst? It's flashy, sure. Big rocks, burst damage, a field that blocks enemies. It's got potential. And hey, one of their constellations even gives your party a nice crit rate boost, which is free, so we'll take it. But here's the problem. Their kit feels kind of lifeless. The lack of interactiveness means you press a button, watch some rocks fall, and that's about it. Not to mention, their damage multipliers? Pretty lackluster. Even if you max them out, they don't really hold their own compared to other Geo characters. Don't get me wrong, Geo Traveler isn't bad, they're just painfully average. They're that reliable coworker who shows up on time and does their job but never goes above and beyond. In a game where Geo is already a niche element, they struggle to stand out. So while we'll always appreciate their early game utility, they're definitely chilling at the bottom of the Geo character rankings. But hey, at least they gave us those memories of climbing ridiculous mountains, right? Alright, let's talk about Kachina, the first ever 4-star character from Natlan in Genshin Impact. She's rocking a polearm, and honestly, she feels like a character with potential that didn't quite get there. One of her standout features is her Night Soul state, where she can summon Turbo Twirly, a spinning device you can ride for active damage or leave on the field for some off-field shenanigans. Sounds cool, right? Well, let's just say the damage doesn't live up to the hype. Turbo Twirly tries its best, but compared to other characters, it feels more like a party trick than a real combat tool. Here's the thing about Kachina. She's amazing for climbing cliffs. If your stamina management is questionable at best, she's your girl. Outside of that, she's mostly collecting dust unless you've invested heavily. And by heavily, I mean unlocking her 4th constellation. That's when she really starts to shine. Well, sort of. At C4, Kachina can buff the DF of your active character, which is a niche but solid utility for Geo DPS characters, like Itto, Albedo, or even Kiori. If you're running a Geo-heavy team, this can give you a little extra tankiness, but it's not exactly a game changer. So, where does she stand in the Grand Geo lineup? Let's be real. She's no Itto smashing through waves of enemies, and she's not bringing Zhongli's unbreakable shields. Kachina's strength lies in her utility and charm, but for endgame content, she's more of a fun-to-use character than a must-have. If you've got the resources to spare and love quirky playstyles, give her a shot. Otherwise, Turbo Twirly might be spinning its way to the sidelines. Let's talk about one of Mondstadt's hidden gems, Noelle. She might not have had her moment in the spotlight during Mondstadt's main story, but trust me, she's a powerhouse you don't want to overlook. Noelle is like that friend who shows up with snacks and a first aid kit. She does it all. Whether it's shielding your team, healing them, or dishing out some serious damage, she's got you covered, literally. Her elemental skill, Breastplate, isn't just a shield. It's a multitasking barrier. It absorbs damage like a champ, and even heals your active character when the barrier takes a hit. So, while you're out there swinging her claymore and breaking rocks, or, enemies, you're also keeping your team alive. It's like playing defense and offense all at once, and Noelle makes it look easy. Then there's her Elemental Burst, Sweeping Time, which turns her into a Geo Wrecking Ball. It infuses her claymore with Geo energy and amps up her AoE damage, letting you smash through hordes of enemies with style. The best part? While she's dealing all that destruction, she's still looking out for her team, healing and shielding like the MVP she is. Noelle is the ultimate multitasker, and if you haven't built her yet, now's the time. Alright, let's talk about Yunjin, the surprise star of Geo characters in Genshin Impact, and easily one of the most entertaining 4-stars to play. If you've been sleeping on her, let me wake you up. This girl's kit is a blast. Yunjin scales on death, but unlike other Geo characters who might feel limited by their defense-focused builds, her abilities shine in a way that feels dynamic and rewarding. Oh, and did I mention her skill? It's a parry mechanic. Yep, you heard that right. Time it perfectly. And you're not just blocking damage, you're dishing it back with flair. Now let's get into her Elemental Burst, which is the real game changer here. It gives you 30 charges of boosted normal attack damage. What's cool is that these charges are calculated individually for each party member, which opens up some wild team building potential. Pair Yunjin with 2 normal attack DPS characters, sprinkle in a few different elements for that sweet reaction synergy. And you've got yourself a team comp that's as fun as it is effective. She's not just there to hold up a shield, she's the engine that makes your DPS shine. Here's the kicker. Yunjin isn't just about numbers, she's about style. Playing her feels like you're rewarded for skill and strategy, especially with that parry mechanic. Plus, her design and performance just scream Liyue Opera Star, adding an extra layer of charm to every battle. So if you're looking for a Geo character that breaks the mold, Yunjin's your girl. She's not just another brick in the Geo wall. She's the diva making it all look good. Let's talk about one of the most underrated Geo characters in Genshin Impact, Ningguang. Now, when the Liyue story wrapped up, everyone was scratching their heads, wondering why Ningguang wasn't a 5-star. I mean, come on. She's the literal Tianquan of the Qixing, an absolute powerhouse in Liyue's politics, and she plays such a pivotal role in the story. Yet, she's sitting there as a 4-star. To make up for it, though, she's got one of the sleekest alternate outfits in the game, introduced during a Lantern Rite event. If nothing else, she knows how to command attention both in the story and on the battlefield. Ningguang is a unique Geo DPS, and she's the only 4-star character with that role in the element. Her playstyle feels surprisingly satisfying. Her normal attacks and burst pack a serious punch, especially if you build her right. But her elemental skill is where she really shines. The Jade screen isn't just for looks. It blocks enemy projectiles like a champ. Ever get frustrated during monolith challenges because ranged enemies won't stop sniping? Ningguang's got you covered. Just throw up the Jade screen and you've got a nice little safe zone for the monolith. What makes her even better is her versatility. She's perfect for new players trying to learn the ropes, and her damage output can rival even some 5-stars with the right setup. Geo's unique mechanics, like crystallized shields, complement her kit beautifully, making her both stylish and functional. Sure, she might not have the 5-star glow, but Ningguang proves you don't need one extra star to be a star on the battlefield. If you haven't tried her yet or gave up because she's just a 4-star, give her another shot. You might be surprised. Ah, Albedo. The Chalk Prince of Mondstadt, the mysterious alchemist, and, well, the Geo character that Hoyoverse seems to have forgotten how to treat properly. Let's get real. Albedo had a rough start. When he first dropped, his kit was interesting, but there wasn't a weapon that truly complemented his abilities. It wasn't until much later that he finally got a weapon designed just for him, and by then, a lot of players had already moved on. And let's not even start on his lore being locked behind events that newer players will never get to experience. It's like Hoyoverse put all their creativity into his design and then just left him there. But let's give credit where it's due. Albedo still has his charm. His elemental skill is a gem. Literally, it's a geoflower that can dish out consistent off-field damage. If you're looking for someone to plant down and forget about while you swap to your DPS, he's your guy. It's like having a little turret in the field, quietly contributing while you focus on the big hitters. Sure, it's not flashy, but it's reliable. Plus, let's not ignore how Geo constructs can trigger crystallized reactions, giving your team shields to keep them safe. Albedo is kind of like that dependable friend who doesn't seek the spotlight, but is always there when you need them. And then there's his hidden superpower, the elevator. Yup, his skill creates an elevator that lifts everyone, enemies included, into the air. Is it game-changing? Not exactly. Is it hilarious? Absolutely. Who doesn't enjoy launching their party into the sky, or using it to snipe hilichurls from above? Albedo may not be the Geo powerhouse that some other characters are, but he's got style, utility, and just enough quirky charm to make him unforgettable, at least to those who take the time to get to know him. So if you've got him, don't sleep on him. Albedo's the underappreciated king of subtle chaos. Alright, let's talk about Kiori, the newest Geo addition to Genshin Impact. She's an Inazuman fashionista who packed her bags and moved to Fontaine to live her designer dreams, crafting outfits so gorgeous even Navia gets her wardrobe upgraded. But while Kiori's style game is on point, her combat kit? Well, that's where things get interesting. Kiori's elemental skill drops a doll on the field that dishes out consistent Geo damage. It's like having a fashionable mini statue working overtime for you. You can even choose between getting a Geo infusion for Kiori herself or boosting the doll's damage output when you activate her skill. Sounds decent, right? The problem is that Geo reactions are about as exciting as watching paint dry compared to the flashy combos you get with elements like Pyro or Electro. So, while her off-field damage is handy, it doesn't exactly revolutionize your team comps unless you're already running a Geo-heavy squad. That brings us to the big question. Is Kiori worth the investment? If you love her aesthetic and need an off-field Geo damage dealer, she can definitely hold her own. But if you're looking to dominate with reaction-based gameplay, Kiori might feel like a missed opportunity. At the end of the day, she's the perfect pick if you value style over synergy. And hey, sometimes it's worth it to slay in both looks and battles. Let's talk about the one and only Arataki Itto, Inazuma's favorite Geo bro, and the life of every party he crashes. When Itto first hit the scene, he wasn't just a character. He was the on-field Geo DPS everyone needed, even if they didn't know it yet. This Oni brought some serious vibes with his larger-than-life personality and his relentless drive to show everyone why the Arataki gang is almost a big deal. Love him or not, he made sure his name, and his claymore, left a mark. Gameplay-wise, Itto isn't here to reinvent the wheel. But what he does with style. His rotation is simple. Spam his elemental skill to get the most out of those beefy Ushi throws, build up energy, and then let his elemental burst do the heavy lifting. When that burst kicks in, Itto enters Oni King mode and starts dishing out some of the most satisfying Geo damage you'll ever see. It's smooth, it's fun, and it's exactly what you want when you're swinging around a giant sword. That said, Itto's full potential really shines when he's rolling with the right squad. He's not a lone wolf. He's an Oni who needs his team to hype him up. Characters like Goru bring essential buffs that supercharge his Geo damage, while Albedo provides additional off-field support that keeps his damage consistent. Put them together, and you've got a team that feels like they were made to help Itto flex. Sure, building him might take a little investment, but let's be real. Itto's personality and power are worth every Primogem. Alright, let's talk about Geo characters in Genshin Impact, and specifically how Navia is shaking things up in Fontaine. Geo may have taken a bit of a backseat since the arrival of Dendro, but Navia's release? It's like a breath of fresh air for the Geo element. When people heard she was Geo, expectations weren't exactly sky high. I mean, Geo characters have this reputation of being a little slower paced compared to the other elements, right? But Navia, she's got that perfect combo of an elegant design and a kit that actually makes Geo fun to play again. Her abilities are what really set her apart. Navia has this unique mechanic where she gains crystal shard stacks every time a party member triggers a crystallized reaction. These stacks increase the damage dealt by her elemental skill, and trust me, if you play her right, she can hit some seriously high numbers. You're looking at over 100,000 damage per skill. Yes, you heard that right, even with just a level 1 talent. And that's what makes her stand out from the usual Geo crowd. You don't have to wait forever for big damage. She can actually pack a punch in a way that feels satisfying and fast. The best part? She's just fun to play. There's something incredibly satisfying about how she interacts with her surroundings. Sure, Geo's a bit slower than the other elements, but Navia turns that into an advantage. It's all about those crystal shards and getting that damage ramped up. For anyone who's been missing that Geo power boost, she's the perfect addition to your team. Plus, her design? Absolutely stunning. She might have started as just another Geo character, but with her, Geo feels like it's finally back in the spotlight. Alright, let's talk about the ultimate Geo character in Genshin Impact. Zhongli. Honestly, when it comes to Geo, Zhongli's in a league of his own. The guy's the Geo Archon, so it's no surprise that he stands at the top of the Geo food chain. His shield alone is insane. Not only does it give the whole team a sturdy defense that can tank pretty much anything, but it also reduces all enemy resistances in the area. This is huge for both surviving and dishing out more damage. When you've got Zhongli on the team, you can focus on the fight without worrying about taking too many hits. And it doesn't stop there. Zhongli's Elemental Burst is one of the most satisfying abilities in the game. Seriously, it's not just about the damage. The visuals alone are spectacular. But here's the kicker. His burst can petrify smaller enemies for a few seconds, leaving them completely useless, while you can lay into them with all you've got. It's like a mini crowd control mechanic that makes fights so much easier, especially when things get chaotic. On top of all this, Zhongli's usefulness isn't just about the shield or the petrification. He's a reliable powerhouse when it comes to damage too. His Geo constructs can do some serious work, and let's not forget his ability to resonate with the world around him. When it comes to Geo characters, he's not just a support, he's the backbone of your team. Zhongli is not only the best Geo character in the game, but he's also one of the best in general. If you don't have him yet, I mean, what are you waiting for? Zillinon is a breath of fresh air in Teyvat, bringing something truly unique both in personality and gameplay. As a Geo character from Natlan, she's more than just a powerhouse on the battlefield. She's a support hero that can turn the tide of any fight with her incredible versatility. You'll see her in action providing both DPS and support, but it's the support playstyle where she really shines. The ability to heal the active character while simultaneously shredding 36% RES from enemies for the elements on your team makes her an absolute game changer. Imagine that. More damage, more healing, and all wrapped up in one character. Now, let's talk about her kit. Zillinon isn't just a pretty face with flashy animations. She's practical too. Beyond her healing and RES shred abilities, the right weapons and artifact sets can elevate her further, providing you with buffs that stack on top of what she already brings to the table. Her talents make her a go-to choice for a variety of teams, especially if you want a well-rounded support that doesn't sacrifice damage for utility. Whether you're facing off against tough bosses or clearing domains, she can provide that extra edge your team needs. What really sets Zillinon apart from other Geo characters is how adaptable she is. Unlike many who might fall strictly into either a support or DPS role, Zillinon offers a hybrid experience that can shift with the composition of your team. You get the best of both worlds, maximizing damage output with her DPS side while keeping your characters healthy and alive thanks to her supportive abilities. She's a character that plays well with others, and when you figure out the perfect setup for her, she'll feel like a must-have in your roster. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.